The latest batch of Epstein files released by the Justice Department revealing new emails and photographs and other documents, including with former Prince Andrew, bringing more scrutiny to his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Word today, Andrew has moved out of the royal residence, Windsor's Royal Lodge, and will now live in a privately funded home on the King's estate. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates also responding, the billionaire apologizing for knowing Epstein in a sit-down with Australia's news outlet. He says the emails which allege he was aware of the convicted sex offender's crimes are not true. Here's ABC's Olivia Rubin.
So what we have here from Bill Gates is essentially a denial and an apology. There has been reporting on sort of their ties before, and he's saying that he regrets his association with Epstein, really saying critically there that the emails, the unverified allegations were false, and that he never went to the island and never met any women through Epstein, but that his conduct didn't relate to any of the alleged wrongdoing here.
Penny the Pincher, who glided across the green carpet in Westminster's final night of competition, walked away as top dog.
There was an Old English sheepdog named Graham among the finalists, as well as a Chesapeake Bay retriever named Coda and a mop-looking little Pekingese who answers to Lumpy. But in the end, Penny outshone them all.
For Best in Show at the 150th Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show is the Doberman Pinscher.
ABC's Sherry Preston. I'm Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Progressive presents Employee of the Month. Small Business Edition. Today's recipient from Michaela's Mobile Spa, Michaela. Michaela got a quick business insurance quote from Progressive and chose from over 30 customizable coverages. Sure, it helps she's her only employee and does literally everything. But while others would rest on their laurels, Michaela was hard at work saving big. So take that, hypothetical other employee who doesn't exist. Be your own Michaela. See if you could save in as little as 8 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage is not available in all states or for all vehicles and coverage selections.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
4:05 now at News Talk KBNU, and I'm Will Feelite with your local headlines as we begin KBNU's For the People show. Well, a 36-year-old has been sentenced for breaking into a Logan Elementary school last summer. Christopher Lyndon Thurston appeared in 1st District Court last month, where Judge Angela Fonsbeck sentenced him to 240 days in jail with credit for time already served. Now, Thurston had pleaded guilty to burglary, property damage, and possession or use of a controlled substance, which were all third-degree felonies. Now, the charges stem from a June 12th incident last summer at Hillcrest Elementary School. Logan police responded to the school just after 8:30 in the morning on reports of an intruder. Now, officers said that Thurston had barricaded himself inside an office and then climbed onto the roof to avoid capture before being arrested. Now, the school was not in session at the time. Court records show that Thurston has a history of burglary and theft convictions in Salt Lake, Farmington, and Manti. He's currently serving a prison term of 0 to 5 years for an unrelated case. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints pledging significant support for the 2034 Salt Lake City Winter Games yesterday, offering funding, real estate, and thousands of volunteers. Now, Bishop Sean Douglas, a member of the church's presiding bishopric, announced the partnership in Milan, Italy yesterday ahead of the 2026 Winter Games. Now, the commitment includes a financial donation along with the use of Block 85 in downtown Salt Lake City as an official venue. Now, Douglas said that while this contribution of cash and real estate is important, beyond price are the hearts and extraordinary commitment of member volunteers. Now, Fraser Bullock, president of Utah 2034, welcomed the support, noting it revitalizes the successful collaboration for the 2002 Olympics. He said that the partnership aligns with the global message of unity central to the Olympic movement. Of course, the 2026 Winter Games are set to begin on Friday in Italy. And Timmy Olson, the man who pleaded guilty in manslaughter in the disappearance of Kipling Davis more than 30 years ago, is set to be released from prison next week. Now, Olson served his entire sentence and will face no parole supervision upon release. Now, his freedom comes despite his refusal during a 2021 hearing to disclose the location of Davis's body. It's a move that could have qualified him for early release under Utah state law. Now, Richard Davis, the victim's father, said during that hearing that all the family was asking for was for Tim to soften his heart and tell the family where Kipling was buried. Now, Olson's attorney stated that his client has rehabilitated, completing HVAC training and also Bible studies while being incarcerated. Well, it's been another spring-like day today with temperatures in the low 50s. Now tonight we'll drop into the mid-20s, and we'll see this same forecast pretty much tomorrow, Friday, but with a little warmer weather as we'll be into the mid to high 50s to finish off the week. Still looking at the possibility that as we head into the weekend, we'll see temperatures right around the mid-50s with sunny skies, then a chance of some rain coming on Monday and Tuesday of next week, which we're hoping will bring also some snow into the mountains. And weather here at the top of the hour brought to you by Firehouse Subs. Congratulations to our latest Firehouse Subs Above and Beyond Salute winner, Wendy McBride. Yeah, Citizen nominated Wendy, telling us how she works behind the scenes at Logan Regional Hospital. So we gave her a $40 gift card to Firehouse Subs. You can always nominate somebody by going to our website, kvnutalk.com, or next time you stop by Firehouse Subs for lunch or dinner, just scan the QR code there on the tables in the restaurant. And KVNU News Time is now 4:08, and more of KVNU's For the People show coming up next here on KVNU.
Valentine's Day celebrates love, the flowers, the cards, the gestures, but the most meaningful love is the kind that lasts. You've worked hard for your body, you've shown discipline, and still, some areas never change. That's not failure, that's biology. At Bell Sculpt, we permanently remove stubborn fat cells, not temporarily shrink them. And yes, even love handles deserve a little love. This isn't about changing who you are, it's about finishing what efforts you started. This Valentine's Day, choose yourself. Visit bellsculpt.fm to book your free consultation today.
Know about it. Talk about it. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Stop! If you're shopping for tires, stop! Don't buy tires today. Wait, because the biggest tire sale of the year is starting tomorrow at Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. There's no need to shop around because you'll get the absolute guaranteed lowest prices in town or online on your favorite brands, including BF Goodrich, Michelin, Rodex, and more. I repeat, do not buy tires today. The best tire deals are coming Thursday to Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. Tires with prices so low you won't believe it. Choose 12 months no interest, no credit check financing, or layaway. The biggest sale of the year is starting Thursday at Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. The deals are so good the manufacturers won't allow prices to be given over the phone. Don't miss the Discount Tire and Automotive warehouse sale, 3 days only, starting tomorrow. Go to Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield.
Discount Tire, so much more than a tire store.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Wednesday, February 4th. I'm Jason Williams. 52 degrees here at the Radio Ranch, 4:11 in the afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Another big day on Capitol Hill. Controversy over a bill that, honestly, every city leader, councils, mayors, and everything in between should be paying attention to because it opens the floodgates, I believe, on legislative meddling in city planning. But it does also raise some, I think, legitimate questions about central planning, which the legislature pretends to hate when they're running for re-election, but can't get enough of when it comes to actually running the state. And arguably there are times when central planning is necessary. When it comes to roads, as is the case with this issue, as cities grow and butt up against each other, we've seen this here in Cache Valley, even something as simple as the traffic impact on a road because of a city decision doesn't affect just the residents of that city. The statewide purview, this is referred to as a regionally important traffic route or highway. a road that allows people to get to work, shopping, school, things like that, that spans multiple cities. So the legislature is making the argument that, especially when it comes to Salt Lake County, Davis County, and even Weber County, there are certain roads they should get to call some shots on through UDOT that would normally be city decisions. The counter-argument to that is that the local leaders have, talking to each other, city to city, have more of an idea of what's best for residents, businesses, traffic patterns, and more. And that fight is about to play out over House Bill 242, if you'd like to look it up. We'll talk about it later on in the hour. Some movement on a bill here in Utah to ban cell phones in classrooms bell to bell. There are several versions of these bills out there, and I did a quick accounting before the show today and was surprised to learn that this year more than half of the states have, some form of a cell phone restriction bill either in place or making its way through various legislative bodies. And some examples, in certain states you have, Minnesota, for example, has a bill that has been debated and is kind of sitting in a legislative process, locked up by a committee, but plans for it to come back and get additional debate before an actual vote. And it's a bill that basically says we are encouraging school districts to implement the ban that they feel is most effective, bell to bell or class by class, or maybe, one iteration that I've seen, you have a general discouraging of cell phone use, but students are encouraged to go ahead and pull them out during breaks and lunches or free hours. More restrictive bans, like what's being considered here in Utah by the legislature this year in the 45-day session that is midweek 3 at this point, is a bell-to-bell ban, meaning that cell phones would basically be not allowed on the respective campus from the start of the school day to the end. I don't know if that bill is going to pass. The governor is pushing for it. It has a sponsor, obviously, but several co-sponsors or floor sponsors, as we call them here in the Utah legislative process, meaning there's, significant support for this. And it's definitely a trend, to say the least. Again, more than half the states I found today have some version of this either already passed or in discussions for potential statute. What does the research say? That's something I got curious about. My gut, before reading the research today, says we should be careful with this kind of thing. It makes sense, right? Cell phones are distracting. I'm familiar enough with some research that very strongly suggests that kids do better in schools if they're not distracted. We also know from research that kids do better in schools if they're not hungry, if they've slept well the night before. There are a lot of things that can impact academic performance while in the classroom. And I know how my cell phone affects me, right? You know how it affects you. You don't need to be completely immersed in the latest research and social sciences to make an educated guess and be accurate that cell phones are a distraction. And I've even had teachers tell me that they feel sometimes the parents are the problem because parents are texting their kids throughout the day with, important information like what's going on after school, when I'll pick you up, things like that. But they're not thinking about the fact that every time they text, their child is going to pull their phone out and look at that text mid-lecture in a classroom. So that's a no-brainer, I think, that cell phones are a distraction. But do cell phone bans, either limited restrictions where kids are only allowed to use them during breaks in between classes or lunch time periods, things like that, or bell-to-bell bans where the cell phone is basically not allowed on campus, in the classroom or outside the classroom from the start of the day to the end of the day. Is there research out there to suggest that this actually makes a positive contribution? And so I started to do some digging. And again, I found that 30 states either now limit or outright ban cell phone use in the classroom or are debating doing so as Utah is this year. And the research suggests, so the first thing I found was a nationwide survey that was done of teachers, just asking teachers in states where a cell phone ban or a cell phone limit of some kind has been enacted, did you notice a difference in the classroom? Pew Research, the RAND Group, the University of Rochester, let's see, I don't remember which group did the research, but they did school districts in Florida, and conclusive all around. The research says all around that teachers at least say, yes, it made a huge difference. We noticed it in academic performance in the classroom. We noticed it in student participation. Students that chiming in during discussions in the classroom, asking questions during class time, turning in homework in a more timely fashion or more completed based on lectures and things like that in the classroom. Teachers across the board said, we noticed a positive impact in the classroom when cell phones were removed, discouraged, or outright banned, whether bell to bell or just for specific classes or during class time but allowed during the lunch period. There was no specific question in this survey. Looking at Pew's, for example, they didn't specifically ask, was there a noticeable difference whether it was a bell-to-bell ban on the cell phone outright for kids or whether it was just while in class, but you could pull it out walking between classes or during your lunch period. Pew didn't ask about that, neither did RAND or the University of Rochester. But teachers, again, said that cell phones not being allowed in the classroom had a noticeable impact on student performance. In fact, there was not a single teacher. The closest you could come to teachers saying that it didn't make a difference were teachers who said that they feel neutral about it at this point because it's been in place such a short period of time. Basically, teachers saying, talk to me at the end of the school year, and I'll have an answer for you. But other than that, every teacher who gave an answer said they noticed a positive impact. This was interesting as well. I found two researchers at the University of Rochester. They went about tackling this question in kind of a clever way, and they did it by actually looking at cell phone activity data for one school district. They chose a large school district in Florida, and they did this in 2023, and because this was one of the first districts in the nation to institute a full-on bell-to-bell cell phone restriction. And the researchers compared schools in the nearby area and in other states that didn't have these restrictions in place and noticed that, obviously there was a big difference between the hours that school would be in and cell phone data usage. Now, this is not generally publicly available data, but you can get it with a simple request, and it's a big generic group of data. There's nothing in there to denote, this is a student or this is someone at their job or this is someone at their home. But you can see basically traffic maps, graphs, if you will, of cell phone data tower connections and the transmission of data throughout the day. And it was pretty obvious that, when the cell phone ban was enacted at the school district in Florida, cell phone traffic for the entire county went down between 8 and 3, which implies that there was a lot of cell phone usage at that school during class time before the ban was in place. I thought that was kind of a clever way to go about it. However, one of the researchers on this project, David Figlio, he's an economist at the University of Rochester. He said one of his concerns, and this is my concern too, he said one of his concerns about the bell-to-bell cell phone ban is that they're talked about like a silver bullet. He said their research found that it does seem to be helping kids. They're attending school more. They're performing better on tests. They're participating more in classrooms, according to teacher feedback. But he said that what they also noticed is that cell phone bans were in the same district also led to a 16% increase in suspensions the same year that the ban was enacted. And he said to me, as an economist and a parent myself, the harm of an actual suspension when it comes to classroom performance and activity, it is pretty significant. And he said if it's tied to a cell phone ban, another way to put this, if we're actually suspending kids from classes and school entirely for an entire day or multiple days because they are violating the cell phone ban repeatedly, the harm of that could actually be more significant to that specific student or the students included in that 16% increase that year than a more lax cell phone restriction, maybe a restriction that allows them to pull their cell phone out during their lunch period. So Figlio said their research suggests that there may actually be an unintended negative consequence of bell-to-bell cell phone bans, whereas that unintended negative consequence might not show up if it's a little lighter of a restriction, meaning kids could still have their cell phones on them and pull them out during lunch periods and things like that. Figlio acknowledges this is just one study in one school district, but he says it is something for lawmakers as these laws become more popular to consider, that there may be unintended consequences. Another set of research does show as well that there were some students who actually struggled more in bell-to-bell cell phone ban districts because the assumption in the research is that the students felt disconnected, less part of a community at their school because they weren't able to interact throughout the school day. Then they go home and maybe the parents have a restriction at home as well. And so they're not able to, catch up on the latest gossip, the latest tea, as the kids say, until, the 1 hour, 9 to 10 p.m., they're allowed to use their cell phone at home. And this actually could have another unintended consequence, which is making kids feel isolated and not connected to their community. And he said that's something that both parents and school district decision makers, state lawmakers, need to consider, that acknowledge the fact that for better or worse, whether you like it or not as a parent or as a teacher or as an administrator or as a state lawmaker, kids these days oftentimes feel connected to each other through social media and apps they'll use on their smartphone. Too much restriction from that could actually have a negative impact when it comes to kids feeling that they're part of a community at school, that they are included and members of that community, which we know from previous research is an important part of getting an education as well. Figlio, in the end, told the Henshin Report, which is a data research reporting news site for education-related topics, he told them in a story they wrote about this, a quote from him here said, I think what lawmakers need to understand is, as with many things, there may be a careful balance that needs to be achieved here between cell phone use and cell phone restrictions that promote better education outcomes. And some research, Figlio says, is suggesting that bell-to-bell bans may have some unintended negative consequences that might outpace the benefits, whereas less restrictive cell phone bans, classroom bans, but you can still use it at lunchtime, things like that, may be the sweet spot. But Figlio says more research is definitely needed to conclude outright, and it's going to take some experimenting. So Utah is poised to experiment with this. I'm assuming this bill will pass. Again, the governor endorsed it in his budget and his priorities list for the state. The sponsor of the bill, which has been debated in committee but not outright on a House or Senate floor debate yet, said that he has 17 co-sponsors, floor sponsors from both his chamber and other chambers, and I'm guessing that bill will pass, but it's one we'll have to keep a close eye on. So I'll let you know when that bill is up for debate. That's going to be interesting to see if any opposition does show up for the bill. But if you'd like to know more about what's going on, if you're a parent out there concerned about them not doing this or doing this, I've linked to some of the research I've mentioned here that I found earlier today on our Facebook page. And we'll be back with more of KVN News for the People right after this.
The annual Greater Cache Valley Economic Summit, brought to you by Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce and Bank of Utah, is Tuesday, February 10th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. This year features a panel from USU, and keynote speaker is Tim Mahidi, founder and chief economist at Access Macro, a consulting company that makes smart banks smarter. Come enjoy a great day of learning, networking, and lunch catered by Elements Restaurant. It's the annual Greater Cache Valley Economic Summit, Tuesday, February 10th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. Register online now at cashchamber.com. That's cashchamber.com.
Hi there, it's me, and I've got a little advice for you guys out there. Valentine's will be here soon. The smartest move, order her flowers early. In fact, you should send them a few days before Valentine's right to her work. That way she can proudly display those beautiful flowers for everyone to see, and you'll get all the credit. Sending flowers from Plant Peddler delivers the right message. Thoughtful, romantic, and planned ahead. Call right now and get it all taken care of. 753-0444. Plant Peddler Floral. 753-0444.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Thursday on This Morning, America's First News. The latest release of Jeffrey Epstein files shows the extent to which the convicted sex offender reached into the business world. Here are examples. Also, the reliable playbook for fast food restaurants during slow times isn't working. We'll examine why discounts are a double-edged sword. And signs you're about to be replaced by artificial intelligence. Thursday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. One other legislative item to keep an eye on for you here. We'll get back to the legislature in hour two. They aren't finished with this yet, but the daily media briefings are playing out, and lawmakers are taking some heat on some proposed, as I mentioned at the start of the hour, legislation that would dictate some things in Salt Lake City, Davis County, and Weber County when it comes to road decisions and what the legislature deems a, quote, regionally important roadway, a highway that spans cities. The legislature, through one bill, is going to, for the most part, take over decision-making on those roads through UDOT. And every city leader, mayors, council members should be keeping a close eye on this one because, as with most things legislative, it doesn't stop at Salt Lake City and Layton once the can of worms is open. So the bill itself is getting some support, but those opposed say, city leaders talking to other city leaders is the best way to solve these problems and long-term plan. The state shouldn't get involved, but the bill is moving quickly. So we'll keep a close eye on that one, and coming up in hour two, we'll let you know what Senate leadership at least had to say about it as they wrap up their media availability here, and I'm just waiting for someone to send me the audio. So if you're listening now, please hurry. So that's coming up at 5 o'clock. But keep an eye on House Bill 158. This is interesting to me. You see this all the time. When Republicans are in power at the federal level, in the White House, House and Senate, U.S. House and Senate, the Democrats suddenly discover limited government. When Democrats are in power, White House, United States Senate, U.S. House, Republicans rediscover limited power, limited government. And it's this really obvious trend you see all the time. Well, House Bill 158 is an example of that. This is a state bill sponsored by a Democrat from Mill Creek, Representative Doug Owens. And it is one you'd normally think Republicans would be championing, but Democrats are doing it this legislative session. I did not know this was legal in Utah, and this bill better pass. So you've heard of the AirTag, probably. This is a device you can buy. It's meant to track your Apple devices, your Apple laptop, your iPhone, whatever it might be. You can slap it on the back as a sticker or even a little piece of plastic. You can buy different versions of it. And then through your Apple account, you can track. Well, this has been used to track vehicles, and it was made explicitly illegal in Utah a couple of years ago. House Bill 158 aims to correct an oversight, which is that when that bill was passed saying it is illegal to unknowingly track a vehicle with any Apple AirTag equipment, They didn't think to include that it should be illegal to track a person as well. Apparently, this bill, House Bill 158, stems from a jilted ex. A couple, they broke up. One person was not happy about it. And somehow, I don't know the details, but was able to get an AirTag into his now ex-significant other's backpack and track the person's whereabouts to see basically if they were dating anyone else yet. Now, obviously, there could be even more nefarious uses for this, stalking situations that could put a person's life at risk. In this case, it was simply just a jilted ex that was angry about the breakup. Luckily, things ended well, but Doug Owens says this issue was brought to him by a constituent, and he's sponsoring House Bill 158, adding a simple line to existing code making it illegal to use an Apple AirTag. You can buy them for like $60. They're cheap. And knockoffs that are like $10 from Temu and Amazon. It is currently illegal to put one of those on a car to unknowingly track without consent another individual. House Bill 158 simply adds one sentence to existing statute that says, by the way, it's also illegal to do this on a person in their backpack or a book or a shoe or something like that. Kind of feel like we should have thought of that when the original set of laws were passed, but I'm glad we're patching up this hole. House Bill 158 currently sits awaiting a House third reading calendar appointment for House bills. It did pass almost unanimously, or unanimously as far as a vote. There were two missing, but no one voted against it in the House Law Enforcement Criminal Justice Committee hearing. It will get a third reading in the House, then off to the Senate, and this one better pass. If anyone opposes this one, I want to hear that argument in person. This is an easy fix, and I'm surprised to learn that it is not already illegal in Utah, but I'm assuming will be soon. Check it out, House Bill 158, link to it on our Facebook page, and we'll get back to the action on Capitol Hill today with a little reaction from Senate leaders to some pushback on a transportation bill that is outright the legislature taking planning decisions, even parking lot planning decisions, away from cities. Why they're saying they need to do it and why those opposed say it opens a can of worms we shouldn't. That's coming up at 5 o'clock. Stick around for more of this hour of radio, though, right after the news with KVNU's Will Feel Right.
Well, thank you, Jason. A Utah lawmaker has introduced legislation that would allow concealed carry permit holders to bring firearms into private venues that receive significant taxpayer funding. Now, House Bill 452, which was sponsored by Representative Candace Periucci of Salt Lake County, applies to any private business or organization receiving more than $1 million in public funds. Now, the bill includes exemptions for airports or instances where federal funding contingent on firearm restrictions is at risk. Now, Periucci stated that the bill aims to discuss whether entities benefiting from state support should have the authority to limit constitutional rights. Now, the legislation could impact major venues like the Delta Center owned by Smith Entertainment Group, which recently secured public funding for a large downtown redevelopment. Now, Smith Entertainment Group said it is reviewing the proposal. As of the end of January, Utah had more than 628,000 active concealed carry permits. And attorneys for Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk, are now urging a judge to bar cameras and graphic videos from upcoming hearings. Now, defense lawyers argue that viral footage from the September 10th shooting at Utah Valley University is highly biased. Now, Robinson, and it could threaten Robinson's right to a fair trial. Now, they've cited a recent incident where a camera operator had zoomed in on Robinson's confidential conversations as evidence of media intrusion. Now, prosecutors, media representatives, and even Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, have opposed the request. Now, prosecutors who are seeking the death penalty have argued that transparency is essential given the intense public interest. They also noted that they may need to present videos of the shooting to counter a defense's motion seeking to disqualify the prosecution team over an alleged conflict of interest. And the Utah 2034 Organizing Committee delivered its first formal presentation to the International Olympic Committee session since being awarded the Winter Games bid in July of 2024. Now, during the presentation, President and Executive Chair Fraser Bullock reported that the committee has completed its first year of operations, which included establishing a gender-balanced 25-member organizing group that's comprised of elected officials, Olympians, and Paralympians. Now, Bullock noted that the team has focused on refining game concepts and also developing an Olympic theater centered around a single village. Now, Vice Chair Brad Wilson also outlined the organization's primary objectives, which include generating revenue, also maintaining financial discipline, and optimizing transportation and venue infrastructure. Now, additionally, U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee Chair Gene Sykes used the platform to announce that Olympic champion speed skater Aaron Jackson will serve as Team USA flag bearer for the upcoming Winter Games in Italy that kick off on Friday. Well, we're going to continue to see clear skies as we head into the rest of the afternoon and overnight tonight, as temperatures have been in the low 50s today. Tomorrow, well, mid-50s with more sunny skies, as temperatures tonight will drop into the high 20s. And then looking ahead, we'll continue to see temperatures just staying right around the mid to low 50s all the way through the rest of the week into the weekend, and still calling for a chance of some showers Monday and Tuesday of next week that we're hoping will bring some snow into the mountains. Well, you've heard the warehouse sale is coming up at Discount Tire. Yeah, it begins tomorrow, runs through Saturday. So if you're shopping for tires, don't buy tires today. Wait, as the biggest tire sale of the year happens beginning tomorrow through Saturday. The biggest discounts on your favorite name brands like BF Goodrich, Michelin, Rodex, and more. It's Discount Tires warehouse sale in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield beginning on Thursday. And I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU local headlines.
ABC News, I'm Sherry Preston. President Trump's point man on immigration enforcement says hundreds of federal agents will be leaving Minneapolis beginning today. Tom Homan says going forward, his department plans to make the operations more efficient. However, he continues to say anyone in the country illegally will still be considered a target. In court now, the man convicted of hiding in the bushes with a gun plotting to kill President Trump in 2024.
Federal prosecutors say Ryan Ruth should be imprisoned for life, arguing he painstakingly plotted to kill then-candidate Trump in the weeks before the 2024 election and has since shown no remorse or regret. Ruth's court-appointed defense attorney is asking for a 27-year sentence, saying that now 60-year-old should not have to die in prison. Trump-appointed District Court Judge Eileen Cannon will decide.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. President Trump says he and Chinese President Xi Jinping discussed the situation in Iran during a wide-ranging phone call today. This is ABC News.
Whole Tree Care.
Winter is finally here, and for Whole Tree Care, it's when the smartest work gets done. January and February mean the biggest savings of the year on tree trimming, 40% off. With the leaves gone, it's easier to trim and shape your trees, all while beating the spring rush.
Whole Tree Care.
The only finger you have to lift is to dial the phone number, 760-6587. Whole Tree Care, 760-6587.
Whole Tree Care.
Bringing Wall Street to Main Street. From your local experts in downtown Logan, this is the Adams Wealth Advisors Market Report.
Hi, this is Brooke with Adams Wealth Advisors. Technology-led stock sell-offs extended into a second day today as the market continued to rotate into assets that have underperformed over the past few years. This rotation has been taking place on multiple levels. There has been a shift out of software and technology into more conventional sectors that are more closely tied to everyday life. From a quantitative strategy perspective, there's also been a rotation out of growth and momentum into value. Smaller company stocks were on the rise, while larger companies' stocks retreated. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, an index that is relatively less represented by AI and software, rose 260 points to 49,501. The NASDAQ, a technology-heavy index, retreated 1.77% to 24,891. The S&P 500, generally considered a balanced index, declined by 0.51% to 6,883. The Russell 2000, an index representing smaller firms, lost 0.9%. The decline in the overall market was not broad-based, as 7 out of 11 sectors posted gains, while only the technology sector posted significant losses. The bond market held steady today, with both the 5-year U.S. Treasury yield and the 10-year yield largely unchanged at 3.83% and 4.28%, respectively. We got a glimpse of the economy as the ADP employment report came in below expectations, while the service industry gauge came in above expectations and remained in expansionary territory. These two reports provided contradictory directional guidance for the economy. While some commentary from the service report suggested that a wave of optimism may be forming, others noted that prices appear to be leveling off. Only a few more data points will help inform where the economy is headed. Thanks for listening. We'll continue to bring you the most up-to-date market news.
That's your update from Adams Wealth Advisors, guiding your financial future one day at a time. For personalized help planning yours, reach out to us at 435-752-1702. See you soon, Cache Valley. Advisory services offered through Adams Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. For important disclosures and more information, visit adamswealthadvisors.com.
Out here, hard work isn't just what you do. It's who you are. And at Black Cliffs Equipment, we're proud to stand beside you with Kubota tractors. Right now, get 0% financing for up to 36 months. Or save up to $4,500 in instant rebates on select Kubota models. Plus, we carry genuine Kubota parts and offer fast repairs. To thank you for what you do, mention this ad when you come in for a free gift. Black Cliffs Equipment in Hyde Park and Far West.
Now through 2/28/26. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And if you have both Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible for a United Healthcare Dual Complete plan if your Medicaid status has changed. A Dual Complete plan may help you get more benefits than original Medicare alone. Visit uhcdualplans.com to learn more. That's uhcdualplans.com. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage you can count on.
Is your health and wellness journey just beginning? The Sports Academy is more than just a gym. It's a community that offers something for all ages and fitness levels. Are you ready to feel empowered, energized, and unstoppable? See for yourself why the Sports Academy is more than a gym. Check out our community today with the largest weight rooms, certified coaches, trainers, and instructors that will keep you motivated. Welcome to the Sports Academy community. Your club, your results, your life.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. As I said, we'll be getting back to the legislative session and how lawmakers are responding to criticism that they are taking away decisions that should be left to city leaders, city mayors, city councils, with a bill that, for the most part, takes that decision-making power away from Salt Lake and some Davis County large city, basically the areas where a lot of people live. Takes some of that power away, gives that power to UDOT because the decisions would be made on, quote, regionally significant roadways, meaning it's a roadway that is used by everyone along the Wasatch Front to get to work or shop or things like that. And so the legislature is arguing that the cities independently shouldn't get to make all of the decisions. Cities, on the other hand, are saying we, talking with other city leaders, are the best to make these decisions, and the legislature is going to muck it up. That bill is going to be a fiery debate, to say the least. We'll talk more about that as lawmakers respond to the criticism, and that audio has been sent my way. We'll prep it for you and have it ready to go at 5 o'clock today in hour 2 of the show. Right now, back to the United States Congress for a bit, specifically our representative in the United States Congress, Blake Moore. Congressman Blake Moore has introduced something called the Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act. He introduced this 2 days ago, and I'm going to describe it this way. This is one of the most no-brainer, obvious, I can't believe we haven't done this yet, solutions to federal spending challenges and issues that no one should oppose. And unfortunately, I can't sit here and confidently say it will pass. This act, the Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act, is there is no reason for a Republican or a Democrat to oppose this. There is no reason for someone who believes that federal spending should be increased in certain areas and decreased in others, or someone who believes all federal spending should be cut without even, looking at it using a hatchet, not a scalpel. Regardless of which party a lawmaker belongs to, regardless of what ideology when it comes to federal spending a lawmaker might subscribe to, there is no reason that this shouldn't pass. And again, I'm not confident that it will. What does it say? The Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act, introduced by Congressman Blake Moore on February 2nd, basically says the obvious. The Constitution grants Congress the power of the purse to allocate taxpayer dollars in the interests of the American people. In a statement accompanying the language of the act when released on the 2nd and introduced officially into Congress for consideration, Congressman Moore says, despite this, the power of the purse granted by the Constitution to Congress, Congress has slowly surrendered this role to mandatory autopilot spending and, in many cases, to the executive branch, to allow the executive branch discretion over some spending that really constitutionally is entirely the responsibility and obligation for oversight and things like that of Congress. And Congress has just, and this isn't a new thing. This was ironically what they were seeking to fix with the reforms that made Bill Clinton so popular in the mid-90s. This is one of the issues they were seeking to fix, and it worked for a little while. And then the old ways kind of crept back in. By the mid-2000s and the start of George Bush Jr.'s second term, even he spoke once about his frustration with this, that Congress, there is a video out there where you have then President Bush saying he's frustrated with how much discretion his administration is being allowed by Congress. He's taking advantage of it, of course, to protect his legacy and exact his priorities as president, and you can't blame him for that. But even he says during an interview once, he basically says, I can't believe they let presidents get away with this. It's their job, Congress's, constitutionally, and they just kind of let us do what we want when we're in the White House as president. That wasn't enough to change things. And this is bipartisan as well. It doesn't seem to matter whether Democrats have the majority in one or two chambers or Republicans have the majority in one or two chambers. It's just a trend that started decades ago, kind of got rolled back a bit after the reforms in the 90s, in the Clinton era, and then crept back in within the next 10 years. And then since then, we haven't even really tried to do anything about it. Disappointingly, even Senator Mike Lee was once a champion of this, and he's now kind of even gotten quiet about it, saying Senator Lee used to be the only one shouting it, and I loved it every time I heard him shout it. Congress just needs to do its job, whether you're talking about spending or abuse and overuse of presidential executive orders. This is happening because Congress isn't doing its job, and so someone ends up having to make the decisions on spending, on executive orders, all of that. If Congress just stepped up, Senator Lee would say, this would be much more accountable. The whole process would be slower and more thoughtful. That's the point of Congress, of a legislative branch, right? And there'd be more accountability. And he's right. And I'm disappointed to see Senator Lee fall conveniently silent about that whenever his party's in power, because he's right. Congressman Moore has introduced this to address the exact same thing, specifically tied towards spending, not executive orders. But he's basically saying Congress needs to do its job. This is a constitutional power granted only to Congress, and they're just not bothering. Like, they're too busy with other things. What? This is your one job. So hats off to Congressman Moore for this. Congressman Moore says in the press release accompanying the language of the act introduced 2 days ago, again, the Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act, he said, Congress has slowly surrendered this role, the power of the purse, to mandatory or autopilot spending programs, which now account for almost 75% of the budget and are renewed without question and without congressional oversight. Again, they're one job, and they don't. Congressman Moore says, and I fact-checked him here. He's right. Congressman Moore says in 1974, discretionary appropriation spending was about 50% of all federal spending. In 2025, 26%. What that means is that in 1974, discretionary spending, meaning spending that was gone through meticulously by members of Congress and required Congress as a whole signing off on every dollar, that was about half of what was going out the door, being spent. Now, that doesn't mean, again, you have to think of this separate from the size of the federal government's budget or the size of the spending. That's a somewhat related but different debate. This is a debate over, if you just, for the sake of understanding this, say, okay, they're going to spend what they're going to spend. That's not necessary, and we can have that separate debate and probably should. But we're talking about what is being spent and who's watching it, who's authorizing it, who's making the decisions. Congressman Moore is basically saying right now Congress is tasked with that responsibility, and Congress isn't doing it. They're just, without asking a single question, reauthorizing these mandatory programs and then moving on to something else. Meaning the decisions, Congressman Moore doesn't spell this out, but what he's basically saying is what that means is in the end, the spending decisions are being made by bureaucrats. They're being made by members of the White House administration or the president, him or herself. They're being made by the people who actually put together the budgetary packages. None of these people were tasked with this job or have the constitutional authority to do it, but that's who's doing it, not because they want to, Congressman Moore does say, but because Congress isn't bothering. So the act, as introduced by Congressman Moore, the Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act of 2026, basically says Congress will vote on the whole budget in detail every year, rather than just 25% of it, which is what's happening now. 75% of the budget they're not even looking at. It's just what they've approved in the past, and they mindlessly reapprove it because they don't want to do the work. I mean, granted, this is a lot of work. Their offices and their staff would be busy a lot of the time going through the spending. It is their job to do that. The bill is co-sponsored by Representative Jeff Hurd, Republican from Colorado, and Hurd himself said Washington's broken budget process is a big reason we keep piling on the debt without ever having an honest debate. Congressman Morris said here on our show that even his Democratic colleagues agree there's probably a lot of spending that could be cut from the federal budget, a lot that would make a huge difference in the deficit each year. Nobody has the political incentive to dig into it, and as this act introduced by Congressman Moore acknowledges, there also is, let's call it what it is. This is laziness. Congressman Moore says the bill would eliminate brinkmanship and drama over federal shutdowns and rising national debt, used conveniently by both parties when they're running for re-election, but never really addressed when they're in power. And he said the legislation forces Congress to do what the Constitution expects of Congress, looking at the entire budget and taking responsibility for every dollar spent or borrowed. This needs to happen. I'm not confident it will, but hats off to Congressman Moore for introducing it. Again, check it out. I've linked to it, the entire language of the bill, which is pretty simple. Comprehensive Congressional Budget Act of 2026, introduced this week by Congressman Blake Moore. Please read it. We'll be back right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
If you're shopping for tires, stop. Don't buy tires today. Wait, because the biggest tire sale of the year is starting tomorrow at Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. There's no need to shop around because you'll get the absolute guaranteed lowest prices in town or online on your favorite brands, including BF Goodrich, Michelin, Rodex, and more. I repeat, do not buy tires today. The best tire deals are coming Thursday to Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. Tires with prices so low you won't believe it. Choose 12 months no interest, no credit check financing, or layaway. The biggest sale of the year is starting Thursday at Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. The deals are so good the manufacturers won't allow prices to be given over the phone. Don't miss the Discount Tire and Automotive warehouse sale. 3 days only, starting tomorrow. Go to Discount Tire and Automotive in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield.
Discount Tire. So much more than a tire store.
We're here with Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center. Why is it so important for Logan Ogden customers to deal with a licensed, regulated, direct lender?
A lot of lenders may look legit, but they are not, especially online. Borrowers need to be careful to deal with lenders who are licensed and regulated by the state of Utah, who really lend their own money and aren't just lead generators.
And Dollar Loan Center is a direct lender?
Yes, we've been around 28 years, Utah licensed, and I actually lend out my own money. We are extremely transparent, fair, and always guarantee to beat the rate of our competition. And our customers' Bill of Rights is in writing at don'tbebroke.com, and we never charge to apply.
Dollar Loan Center lends up to $5,000 in minutes. Stop by in Logan, Ogden, or any of our 15 Utah locations to meet our real friendly staff. You can also apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Licensed by the Utah Department of Financial Institutions. Subject to approval, limitations may apply. See website for details.
Wrapping up hour one here. Stick around, though. Coming up in hour two, got the audio for you. Legislative leaders this afternoon reacting to pushback on a bill that was introduced today in the 45-day legislative session's third week that would basically take away certain road and even parking decisions from city leaders. The state says it needs to happen because of population growth and, quote, regionally significant highways. City leaders, though, say we're talking with other cities and make the best decisions ourselves that the state can't. How lawmakers at the top of the chain responded in hour two here.